All right, y'all, welcome back to Self-Care Safari podcast. I'm your girl Safari, and welcome to the Healing Channel. So today's topic is going to be about discernment, and I want to actually take some time out to, first of all, go a little bit deeper into what that means, and then give you guys a little bit of insight on how you can develop that for yourself. So discernment essentially is the capacity to be able to decipher between what's for you and what isn't. So when it comes to using discernment, it really is important, and it comes into play as you get older with the knowledge that you have of self and the knowledge that you have of, God, spirituality, whatever it is that you resonate with. But it comes with time, and it also comes with confidence. So I wanted to touch on this because I feel like we're in a season right now where a lot of things are going to evolve and a lot of things are changing. Like I said, for myself, I went back to school. So a lot of my discernment, and also in terms of my career, right? Okay, so first of all, I went back to school for my career. And if I feel like in a time where opportunities are going to start coming in, and essentially they are coming in slowly but surely, you have to start using discernment, not just in those fields, but also when it comes to romantic partners, platonic partners. Discernment is extremely important, because it comes with self-awareness. You have to be able to be self-aware and slow down long enough to recognize what opportunities are for you, what type of people are for you, what type of friends are for you, and then make your decision from there. So this is just an opportunity. Excuse that. This is just an opportunity for you guys to get a better understanding of who you are. And just like I said, my podcast is just a platform to give you guys more insight into who you are and provide you guys with an opportunity to gain understanding of, different topics, so that you guys aren't just blindsided by what I'm talking about, really, because knowledge and wisdom comes from understanding. So that's really what my platform is about. So let's talk about discernment, guys. First of all, let me just say this. Discernment comes with age. And when I was younger, I did not have the gift of discernment. I didn't know what the heck to do. I don't know who the heck to talk about. It was just, I was so scattered, but I had fun. I was more free flowing. And I wanted to make sure I made that important, because sometimes when you're young, I hate to say ignorance is bliss, but it is a little bit, because when you're younger, right, you don't essentially have to worry. So you aren't self-aware enough to be so on guard and be so closed off to certain things and certain people. And that gives you experience to be open to certain things that'll give you the experience that you need to ultimately get discernment, right? Because when you're closed off, sometimes you also close off opportunities to grow. So when you're younger, right, like I said, that's completely out the window. You're not worried about discernment. You're just worried about friends. You're worried about how you look. You're worried about who you are. You're just trying out different identities of who you are so that ultimately you can make a decision about who you want to be. So you show up in different forms and different fashions around different people so that you can come to that conclusion. But like I said, when you're young, that's all out. Discernment is out the window. But like I said, when I was younger, I kind of allowed myself to really, I was more free flowing, man. I feel like when you get older, or at least for me, when you get more self-aware, you get more guarded, you get more cautious. And sometimes that can be a good thing and a bad thing. But let's backtrack. When I was younger, I had the gift of attraction, which sounds a little weird, but let me break it down. I naturally attract a lot of people to me. I can't help it. It's always been this way. It's happened since I was young. People just naturally gravitate towards me. So with that in mind, I never had a problem with having friends. People naturally gravitated towards me. And I've never had a problem with connecting with people. I've never really been shy. I've never really been closed off. I was just free flowing. I swear, when I was a kid, it was hey guys, and people they were naturally drawn to me. And so much so that even strangers would be drawn to me, and they would just open up to me and tell me their whole life story, which was, it was good and it was strange at the same time, because I'm all I said was, hey, you know what I mean? And all these people are coming to me and telling me their life story, which I didn't understand it at the time, but I just naturally have a calming spirit, right? So A lot of people were drawn to me. But at the end of the day, I didn't really feel that sense of depth in any of my relationships that I had. And I feel that way because you can be surrounded by a whole bunch of different people, and that's fine. But you can still feel that lack of intimacy, that lack of depth, that lack of connection. And that's how it was for me. So my ability to use discernment didn't really come in until I got older. And I'm talking about like, actually most recently, right? Like I just turned 26 the other day. Shouts out to my birthday. Hey. But I just turned 26, and I don't think I started using or understanding the importance of discernment until I was, until like 25 or 20, in my 20s. Let's just say in my 20s to save time. And, when I was younger, I felt like the more people you had around you, the more popular you would be. You know what I mean? Like the more people, the better, right? And I feel like that kind of played a role into who I allowed around me, right? So I'm also grateful, right? Because those experiences they actually allowed me to understand the importance of what it means to have real genuine connections and real people and real genuine connections, and just having the right types of people around you. So I feel like the gift of discernment, it comes in at a time where, like I said, it just comes with age, but discernment is really meant to help you decipher between what's for you and what isn't. And like I said, when I was young, it didn't really mean much to me. It didn't. I didn't understand it, and I didn't understand the importance of it until I started to look around and realize I was surrounded by people, but I still felt alone. And that's why you have to start using discernment, right? Because eventually your energy will get depleted based off of the things and the people that you have around you. But I want you guys to be very clear about this. Now, most of the time when you hand people the rope, they're either going to climb up with you or they're going to hang themselves with it. So your ability to discern between who isn't and who is for you and who isn't, it's deeper than just trying to recognize who is for you and who isn't. It can really be as deep as trying to figure out what opportunities are for you and what aren't for you. And that comes in especially, like I said, when it comes to your career. Because for me, I feel like a lot of people have issues with purpose and trying to figure out who they are at the core of it, right? Because when it comes to trying to figure out what you want to do with life and who you want to be as a person, that comes with time. But that comes with time. But I feel like a lot of people, especially the younger generation, they struggle with identity. Like they don't really know what it is that they want to do. Some of them have a good sense of it, but they struggle with direction and understanding what career is for them. And sometimes that forces people to pick up on things that doesn't really resonate with them. And it's strange too, because that was also me at one point. Like I felt like I had to fit myself into a career that wasn't for me, strictly off of income, strictly off of what I thought other people were going to think of me, or like I just tried to do what worked, right? Especially people who call themselves being like social media influencers, or people who want to be in the spotlight, or rappers or singers, or whatever. You have to have a good sense of identity, because if you don't go into the world knowing who you are, it's going to tell you who you are, right? So it's really important to understand discernment, because when it comes down to opportunities like that, you have to have a good sense of self, really. So I don't know. I really wanted to touch on that topic more so because your discernment is going to help naturally guide you towards the things that are for you. So it can't just be, you can't just do any and everything, because not everything is for you. You have to go with what resonates with you. So the gift of discernment comes in specifically and more strongly at those times when it comes to you picking and choosing what is for you and who is for you, who's not for you. So it's hard to just well, it's easier when you're younger, but as you get older, it's hard to just do anything. It's about specification. And discernment will help you go from a very broad and a very wide sense of what it is you want to do in a sense of direction to now like narrowing things down. So confidence is a big thing that will help you with discernment. And ultimately, discernment is just trust. It's just trusting yourself and trusting the God that is leading you. And that's big. That's a big deal because you have to have a sense of self. You have to have that gift of trusting yourself. And sometimes that gets damaged along the way when a lot of your foundation is built off of other people, if that makes sense, right? Because when you're young, you're following the foundation that your mom set out for you or your dad set out for you or what your friends set out for you, right? And as you get older, you start to specify that that may not be for you. Or, because if you don't have that strong sense of balance or recognizing how to discern between what's you and what's the ideas of somebody else, then you can get lost very easily. So I say this not to scare you guys. I say this to like really inform you that a lot of people can get lost in chasing behind something that really isn't for them. And discernment comes into play when you're able to recognize that the foundation or what you feel naturally drawn towards is a part of your inner discernment, your inner knowing. Like your confidence can get damaged when you think that your path is supposed to look like somebody else's. So it can be, it's an interesting topic, but I really just wanted to touch on it to make sure that you guys understood what that meant, because it's more than just, oh, I want to pick the right partner, or I want to pick the right type of, romantic partner, or the right type of friends. Like discernment comes into play with everything. It's big. Like the older you get, the more you have to use discernment, because there are people who will come into your life and play on the fact that you don't know certain things, especially if you're about to, like if you want to get into the industry, right? Or the music business, whatever. It really doesn't matter. Whatever type of field that you feel drawn towards in your career. I feel like there are people who will try to mold you into the type of person that they want you to be when they pick up on the fact that you don't know who you are. So it's hard. It can be hard to step into a foundation like that when you don't have a good sense of who you are. And I feel like that comes into play also when you start to, I feel like it comes into play, you start learning discernment when you go through hardships. And see, that's the trick that a lot of people, they play themselves out of their positions when they start going through tough times, because they think that, when things get hard, they're supposed to back off, or if something is continuously going wrong, then it might not be for me, and that's not true. So you have to have the courage to recognize what's for you and what isn't, because sometimes the right path is going to come with opposition, but you have to be able to discern what's for you and if you want to keep going or if you don't. That doesn't come from any external validation. That's going to have to come from within. So you just have to trust your inner compass, because it'll ultimately lead you towards the right path. And see, I had to recognize that shit for myself. The main reason why I get on this podcast and talk about the things that I do is because a lot of these tips and advice, like, it's really for me. Like, I look back on these myself and give myself advice. Like, I don't I swear, like, if I only had one person listening to my podcast or watching my YouTube, like, that's fine. Like, I get to look back on all of this information to give myself advice, because I am also going through this type of stuff. Like, I had to recognize through trial and error what discernment meant, and I know the importance of it now, because when I didn't have it, I really just allowed any and everybody in, and I became drained. And see, that type of energy can become way too heavy to carry. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who pick up on a lot of different things that aren't for them. Like, some people take on other people's problems naturally because they think that, well, it's their job. they almost feel obligated to pick up on certain things for people out of people pleasing, and they don't know who they are. They think that the best route to go is, if it's a poverty and a lack mentality that you have to break out of. Because if you aren't aware, if you aren't consciously aware of what it is that you're going through, or who you are, then you'll go on this path that makes you feel numb, almost so much so to the point where you don't feel, you don't have a good sense of self, right? And I can only speak from experience, because for me, I felt like my entire life felt like an outer body experience. Like I was on the outside looking in and didn't know, like a lot of my decisions didn't feel like my own. Like I said, I had to take a step back and realize that a lot of the decisions that I was making was from a place of lack. Like I feared losing people, so I didn't make certain decisions, or I didn't wear certain things, or I feared rocking the boat, or feared an argument, so I didn't speak up and I didn't say certain things. But that ultimately all that did was shrink me. I started to shrink out of fear of other people. And I'm just now coming to a place, like I just turned 26, right? And I feel like my journey is literally just about specification. Like it's just about narrowing down what it is that truly resonates with me. Because for a long time, my people-pleasing tendencies made me forget who I was and forget what it is that I actually liked. Like I didn't, the people that I chose, the type of career paths that I chose, it was all out of a lack mentality. And I feel like you can't truly step into who you are fully with that type of mentality. The first step of manifesting anything, first and foremost, is gathering a sense of self. The first step to any manifestation is breaking out of the poverty consciousness that kept you in that mentality in the first place. So yes, discernment is a big part of that, because now it's not just about discerning who's for you and who isn't. Now it's about discerning what thoughts are yours versus what thoughts are somebody else's. And that's a big deal, because a lot of the thoughts that aren't yours, they stem from your childhood. These are thoughts that your mom taught you, your dad taught you, your brother taught you. Like these are thoughts that are embedded into you so deep that you think that they are yours. So when it comes down to discernment, it's important, because now it's ultimately a battle between yourself. You have to discern between whose thoughts are yours and who isn't, whose thoughts are somebody else's, so that you can step into who you are, step into your own identity, and step into your own power. So I can't, like I said, I didn't start this topic to really bash anybody or make them feel like, oh, well, if you don't use discernment, you're probably going to die. Like, no, it's not that. It's just that I learned from experience that discernment is more, it's more an internal thing, more so than it is external, right? Because a lot of the times when we aren't self-aware, or our confidence is damaged, our sense of self-worth is damaged, we go into this mode of self-preservation, where our discernment isn't about our abundance. Our discernment is centered around keeping our mentality in a way that feels comfortable, if that makes sense, right? So your discernment can be about, it isn't about abundance now. It's about preserving my lack mentality, preserving the money that I do have left, preserving the love that I have left after that heartbreak, after I lost my job, after I lost my sense of self, right? So if you aren't careful, your sense of discernment will be corrupt by your fears. And I am just now coming to a place of self-awareness that made me realize that I was fighting more so to stay the same, more than I was fighting for things to change. And it's not, anything to bash myself about. I give myself complete compassion and complete grace, because I get it. I know where that comes from. When you're young, it depends on your childhood, right? Depends on how you grew up. But when you're young, a lot of the fears stem from, or at least for me, let me just speak from my personal experience. When I was young, I had to grow up really quick. I had to figure out who I was, and not only that, protect the people around me in the best way that I knew how. So I didn't really get an opportunity to slow down long enough to think about myself. I couldn't. A lot of who I was came from me trying to help other people, me trying to help my mom, me trying to protect my mom, me trying to protect my brother, me trying to take care of my sisters. So I couldn't care too much about myself or recognize who I was because I was more concerned with other people. So I took that into my adulthood. And a lot of the choices I made didn't stem from me. They stemmed from, well, how is this going to affect my mom? How is this going to protect my sisters? How is this going to affect my family? And from there, the older I got, the more I started to recognize that. And I started to understand, like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't even like these certain foods. I don't even, you know what I mean? I had to recognize that a lot of that trauma was so embedded into me that I didn't know how to care for me. And see, that's hard. That's a hard mentality to break out of, because the older you get, if you aren't careful and you don't become self-aware enough and take control of those thoughts, the older you get, the more you forget that you had to do it out of necessity at one point to survive. But now you're doing it out of a place of familiarity. And see, the strongest and the most hardest thing to break out of is comfortability and familiarity. Because when you get comfortable with something, you don't want to move. And when you become familiar with something, you don't want it to break. And like I said, that shifts you from an abundant mindset to a preserving mindset. And the difference between the two is lack and growth. And you ultimately have to make the decision between the two, because when you're in lack, everything you do is in lack. How you move, who you choose, who you date, where you go, how you spend your money, it's all in lack. But you have to break out of that mentality, because if you aren't careful, you'll start choosing friends out of lack. You'll start keeping people around you out of lack. And I had to recognize that, right? Because now I'm in a place where, yes, I cut a lot of people off, but now I want to start gaining more people into my life. And that lack mentality can either make me choose people who are also in lack and don't resonate with me, but I'll keep them around out of fear of being alone. Or I can choose an abundant mindset where now I have a lot of people around me who resonate with me. And see, that's the difference between the two, is when you have people around you out of lack, you have people around you who nurture your fears and your insecurities. Meaning they come around you, and instead of uplifting you out of that lack mentality, they egg it on. So let's say you go to them and you say, man, like I don't feel pretty today, or I don't feel like I can actually do something, or look, I have an opportunity, but I feel nervous. I don't know if I'm ready for it. The wrong type of people around you will cater to that and make you feel like, well, yeah, it's a scary thing. Maybe you should take a step back. But the right type of people around you will come around you and say, nah, I know that you're better than that. I know that you can do it. The difference is, but one will uplift you and the other one will keep you where you are. And that's where discernment comes in. Because it's a choice. Ultimately, it's a choice. You don't have to choose growth. You can choose to stay in that lack mentality and you'll be perfectly fine, because you're comfortable. You have people around you who nurture your insecurities, who make you feel like you not feeling good enough is good. You don't have to challenge your thoughts, and that's fine. You'll just attract more people around you who cater to that, and then you stay there. Or you can have people around you who challenge those limiting beliefs, and they make you break out of that mentality and you grow. And see, the second option makes you feel it's scary, because you're reaching this glass ceiling that applies pressure. And see, pressure makes diamonds. but it sometimes can make you, it can make you feel like, it can make you feel like you're about to break. That's why some people, not everybody is meant to make it to this level of success, this epitome of being rich and being wealthy, because that has weight. Money is weight. Success is weight. Having an abundant mindset is weight. All of that is weight and pressure. That if you don't establish that while you're in this valley season or this pause or whatever it is that you're going through in your life, if you don't establish that while you're there, then it will break you when you try to get to this level of success that you're going towards, that you're not ready for. That's why, I don't know why, but I attract a lot of people to me who want to go towards the entertainment industry. Like a lot of rappers, a lot of singers, a lot of people who want to go in that direction. And a lot of the times, like, they get so caught up in the process of wanting their work to be perfect that it either stops them from doing what it is that they want to do, or they don't feel like they're worthy enough to move towards it. And I always tell them, because a lot of the times the conversations go like, well, I don't feel like maybe this isn't for me, or I just feel like I have writer's block, or you know, whatever the situation is. And I tell them, I tell them all the time, like, you feel drawn towards that field and towards that path for a reason. And a lot of the times, whatever it is that you feel connected towards in that way, it's because that's a part of who you are. And see, it's funny because a lot of the times people feel like, oh, I'm depressed because I can't do that. I'm depressed because I don't have this, or I'm depressed because I can't achieve the level of success that I think I want to have. And that's not true. A lot of the times people are depressed and feel like they're stagnant, because not because of what they can't accomplish, but because they aren't taking the time out to slow down and recognize what they already have. Sometimes you're trying to fight for something that isn't even for you. And the fact that that door hasn't opened yet is a gift. Sometimes you're fighting. There are people who are meant to be rappers. There are people who are meant to be artists who feel like their life isn't going anywhere because they're trying to force themselves in the field of being a doctor. They're trying to force themselves to be in the field of being a lawyer. Why? Because your mom said that? Because you think the money is going to come from that because of the false sense of stability? Why? If you are naturally meant to be an artist, if you feel drawn towards a specific field, then there is nothing in this world that's going to take you out of the mentality of that except for you. And that's why some of these people, they force themselves into settling for something that is beneath them, not because they don't feel drawn towards it, but because they feel like they have to be perfect at it in order for it to work. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because see, that feeling is never going to go away. The fact that you are meant to be an artist, that feeling is never going to go away. You're always going to find a way to rap. You're always going to find a way to sing, whether that be in the shower, whether that be in church. Whatever is meant for you, you're always going to do it. That's why some people struggle with saying, I don't know what my purpose is. It's what you are already doing. See, a lot of people think that they struggle with the sense of identity and they struggle with the sense of purpose because they feel that your purpose is outside of you. But it's not. It's something that's naturally embedded into you. If you're meant to be a rapper, you naturally feel drawn towards music. If you're meant to be a dancer, you naturally feel drawn towards dancing. Like, it's easier said than done, because sometimes you think that whatever it is that you're meant to do, it's supposed to be big. It's supposed to be grand. It's supposed to get you out of your comfort zone. And a lot of the times that's not the case. Like for me, right, when I was young, I wanted to write. But see, there was this one teacher who came to me and was just like, look, I don't think this is good. And that one comment, first of all, out of all of the other comments of everyone saying like, wow, I like your writing, that one comment that was made was enough for me to stop altogether. That was enough. And for a long time, I didn't write. Or when I was younger, I wanted to be a singer. And I felt like I didn't have the sense of community and the sense of backing of anyone behind me, pushing me and saying, wow, like, you're really good. So I stopped. For a really long time, I stopped doing all of those things in public. I went from doing it in public to doing it behind closed doors. But see, like I said, when something is for you, it never goes away. So that it stopped me from showing people, but I never stopped writing. It caused me to be shy and make me trick myself into believing that I'm not good enough around other people. But behind closed doors, I sing, I dance, I write. I do all of these things naturally because it's a part of who I am. So using the gift of discernment, like I said, it comes with time. It comes with maturity, and it comes with confidence. And see, false confidence will make you believe that you have to be validated by other people in order to get things going. False confidence will make you believe that your gifts and your talents are only good enough when somebody comes in and they clap for you. That's false confidence. But real confidence is when you go within and you recognize that regardless on whether or not somebody claps for me, I know I'm good enough. I know I can do this. I know I have the ability to move forward. Not because people are clapping for me, but because I finally learned how to clap for me. So I don't want you guys to put yourself in this mode of trying to preserve the sense of comfort. Because at the end of the day, life has a way of pushing you out. And life has a way of revealing to you what it is that you're meant to do every single day. When you're meant to do something, it will not pass you by. When something is for you, it won't pass you by, but it has to be the real you. You can't keep showing up in this false version of you expecting to get authenticity. It doesn't work that way. Either you're going to show up and be yourself, or you're going to show up and be someone who you think everyone wants you to be. And all that's going to do is attract more people who are not authentic. That's why I have to really I have compassion for y'all, just like I have compassion for myself. But after a while, you have to become self-aware enough to recognize, if you keep attracting people who are not authentically themselves, meaning that they cheat, they lie, they steal, they rob, they chaotic. If you keep allowing that type of energy around you, all that is a mirror. I tell y'all this all the time, but people are your mirrors. The only reason why you keep attracting those types of people around you is because in some way you are not being authentic to yourself. You keep showing up as this false version of you and then getting mad when you attract false versions of other people. Why do you think that these friends of yours keep coming around and they attract chaos? Why do you think that these co-workers of yours that you try to make your friends end up being snakes? Why do you think that is? That's because you are not your authentic self. And if you were, you'd have the right type of discernment to recognize who is a friend and who isn't. Not because of anything external, but because you know who you are well enough to know that this person is not good for me, or this opportunity is not for me. But see, all it is just a shift in mentality. It's just a shift. And it's easier said than done, because essentially what you're doing is breaking out of a way of thinking that you've had since you were a child. These are thoughts of your mom, thoughts of your dad, your brother, your sister. Listen, I'm not saying that this is going to be easy, but I'm telling you that this is why discernment is important. You have to be able to discern first and foremost before you try to discern between who's for me, who's my love of my life, who's my friend, what's the right job. You have to use discernment well enough to know whose thoughts are controlling your life. Is it yours or is it somebody else's? Discernment is huge because it can make or break how you show up. And how you show up in the world is huge because it'll make the difference between attracting authentic offers versus attracting shit. And I hate to talk. I seriously hate to say it like that because, I'm not a big cursor. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. You cannot keep showing up in an inauthentic version of yourself expecting to get authenticity. Doesn't work that way. And see, I had to recognize this for myself, because a lot of the times I kind of catch myself being in the mode of preserving who I used to be. So I find myself closing off sometimes, and allowing certain people around me, even if I don't fucking like them. Even if I don't like them, I find myself still being around them simply because, well, I don't want them to talk about me. I feel like if I walk away from this, then people will look at me different. I don't like this friend, but I'll keep them around because I see that they talk about other people, and I feel like if I leave or if I tell them no, then they'll talk about me. So what? And see, that comes into play too when it comes with discernment. That comes with confidence. Because yeah, first and foremost, the gift of discernment can also come in, yeah, but also it comes with your own sight. That gives you the ability to see people properly. Because let me tell you something, if you come around someone who constantly talks mess about other people, or they constantly put you in a position where you feel uncomfortable and you can't be yourself, what do you think that means for the quality of person that they are, or the quality of friendship that you have? That person is not your friend. They either want something from you, or they want you to be a part of their false illusion of being real and being, oh, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna talk about people and do this and do that because that's who I am. No, you're chaotic. And you know what? Sometimes that's just people's natural state. That's just naturally who they are, and that's fine. But does that resonate with you, or does it not? Let me tell you something. If you're around someone who makes you feel like if you walk away, then you'll be talked about, or you have more fear of walking away than you do staying, that within itself is a red flag. Flag on the play. Let them go. Because the right type of people will make you feel okay to be your authentic self, and the wrong type of people will make you feel ashamed or scared to open up. And that within itself is discernment. The best way that I can put it is this: when you're first starting out trying to figure out what your discernment is, and you're trying to figure out if an opportunity or a person is for you or not, take a step back for a second and recognize the energy that you're in when it comes to these people or that opportunity. Does it make you feel like you can open up, or does it make you feel like you need to shut down or close off? Because that can help you. If something is making you feel like you need to clamp up and close off, it's probably not for you. But if you feel like you can open up and it makes you feel free, that's probably the one that's for you. That's the difference between authenticity and fakeness. And I don't want you to ever put yourself in a position where you feel like you have to close up or be different because you fear people talking about you. Let me tell you something about gossip. Majority of the time, people talk bad about you around other people who you don't even know. So that gossip is going to go nowhere. And what does that do for you anyway? Is it truly, take a step back and truly recognize, like, they're going to talk mess about what it is that you do, or talk mess about you to people who you don't even know or care about. And is that affecting your money in any way? Is it affecting your creativity? Is it affecting who you are? No. 10 times out of 10, it's a no. Now, unless they bringing it to your front doorstep and trying to fight you, that's a different story. That's different. But majority of the time, that's not the case. And since that is the case, then I don't want you to ever be around something that's going to make you feel like you need to close yourself off or be afraid. And if you are, I want you to take a step back and step away. Not out of fear, but out of a mentality that says to yourself that whether or not I'm here or I have this person around or not, I have confidence within myself to be able to walk away, because I know that what is for me will ultimately find me. And I had to learn that for myself. And that's why I'm here telling you guys about it, because discernment is one of the strongest tools that you have in your toolbox of who you are. And all discernment is confidence. It's saying to God and it's saying to yourself that I trust that my authenticity is enough, because it is. So I want you guys to make sure that you're aware of yourself, and make sure that you step into your confidence proudly, boldly, with love, and stop caring so much about what other people say. Use the type of discernment that brings you into alignment with the right type of people who you don't have to compromise for. You don't have to compromise when you're around the right people. This isn't high school. And if you are in high school right now, then, you know, I pay homage to you. But majority of the people who listen to my podcast are young adults or adults. And this isn't high school anymore, where you have to fight to be popular, or you have to fight to be seen, or you have to fight to be liked. This isn't high school. This is the real world where people are actually going through real things. So the people who have the time on their hands to slow down long enough to poke at you and try to make fun of you, that says a lot about who they are and the lack of business that they have about themselves. I think it's funny. And I think that you should pity them more so than fear them. Because those people are just trying to fill a void within themselves, especially when they see people doing more than they are. They definitely make fun of people like that. Oh, ha ha ha, you're going after something and you failed. I would rather be made fun of trying to fight for what it is that I want than to be liked by a whole bunch of people simply because I chose to stay stagnant just like they did. At least I'm trying. At least I have my podcast. At least I created the YouTube platform. I don't care who comes to my platform and pokes fun or laughs or whatever the case may be. I don't care about any of that. Because at least I have the balls to create a podcast and open up the floor and have these conversations. I don't give a damn about a whole bunch of followers and a whole bunch of this, a whole bunch of that. At least I have the balls to create it and be vulnerable enough to open up the floor and tell you guys what it is that I've gone through so that I can help you heal through my experiences. That's what this is about. And if anybody has something to say about someone me trying, and tries to make fun of my platform because of me trying, then I pity you. I don't fear you. I created a platform for you too. Hey. I want you to, I say that so that you can embrace your authenticity. So make sure that you stand in that authenticity with courage. And that's been my podcast, guys. I got a little serious with you guys today, but it's because I love you. And I want you guys to make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, Self-Care Safari. Self-Care Safari on all platforms, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure you're just, following on the social media platforms. And make sure that you heal. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.